Testing. Testing. 1 second. Yeah, I think volume is coming through the proper channels. Good morning, America. I hope you're well. It's Monday, the 16th of June, 2025. Or as they say, it's the Lord's year of 2025. It's blessed the June 16th. And the US markets are about to open in 4 minutes. I'm just going to do some work behind the scenes. So if you will please excuse me while I go ahead with that. I'll just be silent. You can hear me sneeze, fart and burp, although I shall refrain from doing any of those. So there you go. Ready to go. Okay. Maybe what I would do is I'll show you what it is that I'm doing. So I work on several screens. So right now I'm choosing to stream my work screen, and that's the screen that I use to prepare. And part of my preparation sort of stems from a belief that how we trade on a Monday, or how investors trade on a Monday, might not be how they trade on, say, later on in the week. And so I'm going through past Mondays. Normally I would have this done at this hour, but I had a training session and I was thus unable to complete it in time. So the markets will open in 5 seconds. So I'll start the analysis shortly. Just wanna just bear with me for a short while longer. Okay, so Nasdaq is touching Friday's high and is trading above the overnight range. Without a doubt, we have sellers coming in at Friday's high. So kind of cleared out whatever orders that were above the old high. The old high was at 38. The market went as high as 62. So 24 points above. Just checking what the European markets are doing. The Dow Jones index is also trading above the overnight range. And both of them are in a gap up situation. But the Dow hasn't been able to touch that high here. So what that would probably mean is that sellers are going to come in up here at 470. So I could be tempted to be a seller around 470 as well. I think I'm just going to lower the stake size a tiny bit. And that has to go up. Is that 4 or 6? I can't bloody remember. Okay. So we're zooming in now on a 5-minute chart. We know that Nasdaq has hit an important double top. And we know we have a big gap up. So what I would like to do is to take you through somewhat of an exercise that I also deployed when we traded Europe this morning. This is not the right chart. This is it. So although these prices may not correspond because this is actually a futures chart, it doesn't matter because it's still a 5-minute chart, and whatever you're seeing on a cash chart is what you're going to see on a future chart as well. So last Monday, if we're just focusing on the Monday because it's the beginning of a new week, and that's what today's trading session and and last Monday's trading session have in common. Again, I explained this earlier. I'm a little bit distrustful of how e-signal pretends or portrays the first 5 minutes. But if we look at it, we have a gap down, and then bar 2 and 3 is somewhat inside the range of the first bar, although I don't know if I can trust the first bar. What I could do is, just for laughs, discard, is I could actually go to the 5-minute bar on last Monday. I think, was it what did I say? It was the 9th, wasn't it? Well, it must be because today is the 16th. So if we're looking at the Dow, on the 9th, well, actually then, what you're seeing here is absolutely aligned with what I'm seeing on the e-signal chart. You have a big push down, then you have 2 inside bars, and then you have a test above, and buyers attempting to push above the 2 prior bars high, but sellers win the battle by closing inside, and that sets in motion a push lower. But if we then go back to the chart at hand, so what we are looking for today, and let's not jump to conclusion just yet. Let's just look through what else we have. We're seeing we are somewhat of a gap down today. We are somewhat of a gap up, and the low of the day is not actually made until an hour and a half into the trading session. It doesn't come until about dare I say 2:30, 3:30, about an hour and 10 minutes into the trading session. And that's a double bottom from the previous day, or the previous trading day, which was the Friday before. So the low of the day was actually made when it tested an important previous day area. That's kind of interesting for us, because if we're looking at the Nasdaq right now, we can say, well, in the Nasdaq, we've done exactly the same thing. We just tested a really important area. And so there right now, there'll be bulls that would say that bar 1 is the high of the day, and they will place bets with a stop above bar 1, saying, well, that's where that's a good place to sell. Personally, I would perhaps want to wait for a better signal or a retest of this area to sell a double top. I could argue the same case over here in the Dow Jones Index. See, the Dow Jones Index hasn't been able to replicate the strength of the Nasdaq that tested Friday's high. What all we have managed to do is to test the overnight swing high right here. And that's not even inside the range. It's just right here. And so comparatively, the Nasdaq is overperforming or outperforming the Dow Jones Index. And the Dow Jones Index is, I would argue, I don't have a numerical setting here, but it's a sell above this area here. And there would be bears that would be saying that 5, the high of 5, is the high of the day. And that's what they're betting on now. But what I would very much like to do is to take you through, sorry, not that presentation, but this one, just to give you a larger sample space whilst I'm keeping an eye on the indices. Jesus, one sec. No, there it is. I did remember my drink. See, I've wised up to this office. You beat the water cooler at certain times. Damn water cooler gossip, huh? So that was the last Monday. Let's look at the previous. There we are on a gap down. First bar is very positive, very bullish, but 2 and 3 is actually incapable of building on that. And what actually happens is that bar 1 turns out to be the high of the day until we break higher late in the US trading session. And you actually have a 50, 100, 150 or 200 point move straight down. And that comes with the break of the first bar positive. See that there? And especially the moment it actually, see how it accelerates the moment. How do I do that? Actually, I want you to see this. No, wait, I have a better idea. What I'll do is I'll open a Paint document, because, someone was sending me, they were really angry at a company called Alpha Capital because he felt that they had cheated on their, some kind of, how these challenges. And anyway, can I just point out here, I don't actually accuse Alpha Capital of anything. I was just asked to look into it. But so what I want to show you, ladies and gentlemen, is look when the acceleration happens in the downtrend on 2 Mondays ago. You had a positive bull bar close at its highs, but then you have 2 inside bars. But it's this bar here, the second inside bar, which technically isn't an inside bar because it actually it actually goes below, so it couldn't be an inside bar. But what's interesting to me is that it actually is the third bar that accelerates the sell-off, because it's the third bar that closes near its low, and that's the trigger for the bears to just hammer this one down. So if we go back to the PowerPoint presentation, while still keeping an eye on the 2 markets, we see how that morning high remains the high. But interestingly, both the high and that low comes within about 6 bars of each other. And what is the low? Well, the low is the low because it's taking out the previous day low and comes close to the day before low. So this is Monday, so it tests Friday's low, it tests Thursday's low, and then it sees buyers coming in. So I've learned a couple of things from this chart here. Say, okay, the acceleration on the downside starts with this bar here. The 26 must have been some sort of shortened trading day, because you can see the bars are different and it's not as long. So you know what? I'm going to somewhat ignore that. Although I do want to point out that the high of the day is a test of the Thursday high. That was not a very straight line, huh? Can't keep a straight line. So there you have it. The Monday high is a test of the Thursday's high. And then that is basically that bear bar there that closes below after a double top that accelerates or starts the downtrend. And then you have a first bar positive, and well, anyway, the low, nothing obvious, at least not here. Then we go to the 19th. And again, relatively early on, we're making a test of the previous trading day's high from a gap down situation. But that gap is very quickly bought up, and then you have 2 subsequent bull bars, but But notice, when do the bulls actually begin to commit? Well, you have the initial bull bar, then you have two smaller range bars, and then you get the acceleration. Now, that's a classical example of how, oh, just because it's gone up a couple of bars, oh, I can't possibly buy it now, it's gone too far. Actually, the opposite is the case. It's most likely that it will take a couple of positive bars before the larger bulls actually dare to commit. Then we get a high, which is a double top from Friday's high, and that's broken late in the trading day, thus setting up a trending move. Until then, it's just sideways. Right now, I am thinking that I need to sell short the Nasdaq again, because on the 5-minute chart, you now have had a breakout above 2 and 3, but it looks like we're going to close inside the range. Obviously, I can't show you this right now because there we go. So there's the Nasdaq. We know that the Nasdaq has tested an overnight high and Friday's high. We're trading above it. So now it's a question of, right, it's broken above it. Is it going to come back into the trading range now? Or is this just a retest of the breakout area? Yeah, do you see the distinction? And of course, I can't tell you one way or another. What I can tell you is that I'm more inclined to be right now to sell short, because I'm thinking, hang on, you broke above 1 high, 2 high, and 3 high, but you saw no continuation of the buying up there. That to me smells like that the bears are betting that 2, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 3 is going to be the high of the day with that little aberration 4 spike. So 1, 2, and 3 is basically the high of the day, and then new high, but immediately gets sold off. We went 62 versus 74, so just 12 points above, and we're now back in the range. So this bar will close in approximately 1 minute and 30 seconds, and if it looks like this, I could be tempted to be a seller. Whilst we are out on the charts, let me just look at the Dow. I got 1 bullish, 2 bearish, 3 bullish. And so right now, while before I was arguing that the Dow was comparatively weaker because it was not making a double top from Friday, it is certainly working its way towards 42,600. Now, if I don't find anything in my homework that sort of leads me to conclude that I need to do one thing or another like I did in the DAX this morning, then I'll just wait for school run. So here's the Dow Jones Index, this time from Monday the 12th of May. It's a gap up, quite a sizable gap up, but the high of the day is made on the 5th bar, which is a break above prior bar high, but then settle back into the range. Could argue that is the same for bar B, but it's immediately followed by follow through on bar 4 that then also closes inside. But it's a back and forth, no real commitment trading range. Just, again, I seem to struggle to draw straight lines. Where we break below, but it only that achieves is a double bottom, and then you get a push higher. Okay, the Monday before that was a gap down, but we got a positive bull bar. Then you got a inside bear, inside doji, inside bear, new low. But notice how this, not new low, but notice that bar number 1, 2, 3, 4. Bar number 5 goes below 4, 3, and 2, but closes inside the range, and that sets in motion a push higher. And notice also where the market stops. So now you sort of get a sense of, well, what could we see unfold today? Well, anything, of course, can happen, but what we are basically do is priming the mind to spot opportunities. Then on the Monday the 28th, we have a gap up. Quite an unconvincing first bar. Second bar attempts, also unconvincing. Third bar is actually quite strong. But the irony is that that bar that looks strong is the high of the day. See that? That bar right there is the high of the day. And there's nothing to suggest that on the Friday and the Thursday. There might be something on the Wednesday and the Tuesday or something like that. But otherwise, the only real clue that we have is that we get 3 strong bear bars after that. But all they managed to achieve is to somewhat correct the gap up, and then we go back into the trading range. I would argue that it isn't really until we see either this bar here, which is a very strong bear close, or this bar here, where we see acceleration to make new lows, that the bulls give up the ghost. And here, well, it's just a trend day right out of the gates. Gap down, new high, sorry, new low, new low, new low, new low, new low, new low. Dreamland for a trender. I think, though, that this is the Tuesday as opposed to the Monday. I think there's some Easter in there. No, it must have been a long Good Friday. No, it is a Monday. And we have the 14th of April. Gap up. Holy smoke, what a mess. Buy below prior bar low. Buy below prior bar low. Sideways, sideways, sideways. Wow. An absolute proverbial nightmare. But with the high of the day made approximately 19 bars in. Not an easy. Not an easy chart to necessarily trade. New high, close below. Anyway, so both the Dow and the Nasdaq are actually pushing significantly higher. So let's go over to the live chart. So the Dow managed to make it up to the double top. This is probably the point where I would consider being a seller. So I'm going to do that. I'm selling the Dow. Wow, I love when you sell something and before you know it, you're 8 points offside. That was a really crappy fill. Even I know that. Just want to show you. There it is. There's my position. Do you know what? I'm going to get rid of the Footsie and the DAX. So we can just see the Dow. So when the Nasdaq is pulling a stunt like this, really accelerating to the upside, that's where I get nervous for my long position, because they do tend to inspire each other. And I'm looking out the corner of my eye, I can see how Dow is accelerating. Now I opted for a stop loss of 80 points away. You know that feeling when you already begin to think, yeah, this is probably not going to work for me, because I got the DAX accelerating up again. Having said that, I would absolutely sell short the Footsie. Please stand by to sell short the Footsie. About at 87. So I was hoping that 5 would offer some this second 15-minute would have some resistance up here. Above Friday's high. Oh God, I wish I wouldn't mind selling short the Footsie at around 85, 86. So what I would love to see now is that 6, which is the one that is currently unfolding, closes with a bear bar. You know, I'm underwater, no doubt about that. But it's looking better than it did. That doesn't mean that my struggles are over. This could just be a slight pullback before the next wave up. So the way that the bar 6 is closing doesn't actually give me any help whatsoever. That is not a negative close on bar 6, and as you can see, we're immediately back up to testing the highs of 6. First punch not a successful, but normally I will have a stop loss that is a little bigger than this, but I had typed in 80, and I think I'm going to stick to that. I am shorting the Footsie here around 83. The reason why I'm shorting the Footsie is severalfold. One, I had an objective on the daily chart in the Footsie at 89.20, but with an idea that we would hit 89.02, which is a double top. Since hitting that, the Footsie has been trending lower, and now we have a 2-bar reversal surrounding the US Open, and I'm selling into that, thinking that we would see the lows of 27 being tested again. Let's look at the school run. Let's look at the school run in the Nasdaq and also the school run in the Dow, because I think that's as important. So acknowledge, well, am I going counter my own approach here? And you can see I am, because I should be long now at 636. And in the Nasdaq, I should be long at 931. I am off. I'm on the wrong side on the Dow. Please stand by to change direction. I have closed my Dow and I've gone long. Show you here. So here's my transaction history. I shorted at 584. I closed it at 652. Let me just update that on Telegram. I am buying the Nasdaq on a school run long. So let's just do an update here. I closed my Dow at a loss and decided to go long instead, betting that a trend day is unfolding. I entered a long in the Nasdaq on a school run, the same here as the Dow is a school run. And right now I also have a short position in the Footsie, which is what it is. So there you go. So now what I'm hoping is that the strong trend higher will continue. This is probably the point where it will be interesting to refer back to the Mondays that I have just shown you. So let's do that. So bear in mind that we are now about, what are we, 7 or so, 8 or so candles into this trading session. Okay, so here we have a reversal, but it comes after 4 bars. Here we have, well, just a downtrend, and the reversal doesn't come until about 90 minutes into the trading session. Down here. So anybody who had gone short, yeah, they would have sat through this, but eventually they would have prevailed, so to speak. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The low is actually the 7th bar. So I'm thinking here that, considering how late in the morning, the US morning, I am going long, that there will be another attack on the highs. If not, it's going to be an expensive morning for me. If there is, I'll have the opportunity to add to the winning trade. There's always a risk, and it's a particular big risk when you all of a sudden you decide, you know what, I think I'm on the wrong side of this market, I want to change course. It's difficult to do. Financially, emotionally, you just take the loss. Because of course, when you are still in the other position, there's still hope because you haven't been stopped out of it yet. Here the reversal comes quite early. This is a better example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is sort of equivalent to me buying here. Of course, I don't hope I have to sit through this before we finally push higher. But if that's the case, I'll be sat here for a couple of hours. That won't be nice. But we'll see. Because the way that the Dow is reacting right now, it's got more that feel that it's settling into a trading range as opposed to continue the push higher. Here the reversal comes after the 5th bar, which is, I am nowhere near that. But I haven't really found anything here that closely resembles to what we're seeing right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That sort of is probably roughly to me buying up here. And then I have to sit through 25 minutes before the market actually pushes higher. Again, we will see. Here we got a 3rd bar high and then a reversal. Maybe that would be the equivalent of me selling short down here. And I have to sit through this. Hope not. This would obviously be in reverse, be lovely to get this kind of trend day. Where you just have a 2-bar reservation. And you'll probably spotted already that my Nasdaq position is in profit. Here you're making a new high, surround the high upper, and then you're double topping and then new top. Let's hope not. That was it. So Nasdaq is in profit. On the daily chart, we are above Friday's high, and we are probably attacking 22,000. Dow is also in profit. I've got to find a million better ways to enter this market. You know that? Sorry, I forgot to post the Dow long entry. Apologies, I'll do that now. There we go. Okay, so both positions are doing well now. My Footsie, well, the Footsie is probably just going to dilly-dally around here. Because we are sort of relatively late in the session, we are 45 minutes into the session, I'm not going to aggressively add to it because I haven't got a clear path to add to it. I would rather just, perhaps, if we are developing a trend day and that bar 1 or 2 was basically bar 1 was the low of the day, well, then I'm more inclined to just be patient. Remember, I lost 271 pounds on the first position. Probably need a fair bit of patience because yours truly missed the opening beat. Why did I miss it? Well, in part because I wanted to take you through, but also in part because, well, there wasn't anything obvious apart from perhaps an espresso entry. But it's quite rare that I get to demonstrate the mental strength that it takes to close a short position when you realize you are on the wrong side and then open a long position. God, I hope I'm going to get away with it. Because otherwise, losing on a short, closing it early, and then losing on a long, that ain't going to fly with the fun police. So the Dow's building. What the hell is wrong with my computer? It's like it's constantly having a hissy fit. Surely you can hear that as well. And this is a bloody Dell top of the range water cooler, blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, you can take this one for a spin on a Sunday. I don't know what that means, but sure. All right, MacBook Brigade, stop your promotion. Get a Mac. Get a Mac. I literally just had 3 people on the trot saying, buy a Mac, get a Mac, get a MacBook. Honestly, fucking Steve Jobs has risen from the grave. I'm doubling up on the Nasdaq here. I'm doubling up on the Dow. Come on. Oh, Footsie, you pain in the butt. Shit. So just to give a status, I'm betting on this being a trend day, and I have doubled up my positions. I bought at 33, and then on a little retracement around 11, I doubled up. Did the same in the Dow. Bought below 11, or tried to buy below 11. Didn't get a fill. New highs now in the Nasdaq. Of course, that's music to my ears. Also, I lost on my first position. You see here how I shorted the Dow at 584. So I shorted it about here on a double top, but that didn't work out very well for me. That was actually because I, on the 30-minute chart, spotted this area here and I shorted it here. As you can see, market is somewhat in a runaway mode. And now I would like that runaway mode to continue. So doubled up my position in the Nasdaq. And then, unfortunately, now I got a position in the Footsie, which is peeing me off a bit. And the Dow overall is aggregately losing me now. %, of the CPU is used, 22% of the memory. It's hardly big stuff. So what you're seeing here is me removing the pre-market, and it just sort of just goes to show, okay, so this is where we are. So we're probably going to attack these 955 areas, and maybe I should ease off on my position here. I think I'll close the second one. Close the second one. To show you there. Close it at 62. I want to close my position in the Nasdaq, but I think I'm going to close half of it. And then I'm going to close half of that. That should be 150. And basically I just want to have a little token. I want to see if I get this right or wrong. So that's what Nasdaq look like. These positions here. And I got a little bit left. Obviously I should move stop loss to break even on that. There we go. And the Dow is charging higher again. That's good news. But my Footsie position is kind of undoing some of the good stuff that I've created on flipping the switch. Okay. There's a part of me going, should I just get out of this Footsie now? I'm going to close my Footsie here, okay? I'll show you the loss. Lost 122. So looking over the Nasdaq, I could be tempted to re-enter here below the low of 12, which would have a low around 940. I think I'm just going to click that Footsie chart away. I don't want to look at it right now. Stand by, please, on the Nasdaq. I'm not sure why it doesn't show my order right now. There we go. My Dow is not looking so good. I can't really see it. I don't want it to trade significantly below 10. And I'm hoping, well, this is just a trading range. But as you can see now, I've gone from being profitable on both to being losing on both. Okay. So I have an order resting here in the Nasdaq at 39.9. Don't look at the Footsie. I'm going to add to the Dow. I'm closing that order. Okay, folks, I'm closing my Dow in its entirety. And I'm going to close the rest of my Nasdaq here. All right, let's just see. Got no open positions. Let's do a transaction summary. I'm closing because I actually need to go and do something else. Excuse me. So, let's do the status, shall we? Yeah. Lost 271, made 127 back. So what's that? So then we're down to minus 150, I think. Then plus 75, so minus 75, minus, call it 35, then minus 122. So that's back to minus 150. Did I make more than 150 of the other? Yeah, I think I did. There's 25, call that 75, call that 100. And then another 100, 200, so about, I think it's about 3, the last bit there. So before I started the US session, there was 32,349 pounds in the account, and now there's 32,483. And if I'm not mistaken, how do I go transaction history? Oh, there we go. And I started the day at 31,953, meaning that I'm up about, call it about 500 or so pounds on the day. Right. I hope you enjoyed this. That was fun. That was fun to trade the Dow like that. I would still be long, but I actually have to leave you. What you should read between the lines is I am still long elsewhere. But with you, I have to call it a day. Let's see, do you have any immediate questions for me? Nasdaq order is deleted. Bloody, bloody, blah. Something about my fan. Someone wants to marry me. Someone tells me to get a Big Mac. Really? Is that a Mac or a Big Mac? Because I could get aboard with a Big Mac these days. I got the most restrictive diet, man. I have to weigh out what I eat. So, Joshua is saying, don't listen to people, they're always wrong. Well, that's a harsh indictment, isn't it? Gabe is saying, have you looked into getting a real computer? Well, Gabe, if you can get me one of those Big Macs, I might be on board with that, you know, if I could have an extra helping of onions and lettuce. It's fun to be here with you, you know that? Thank you so much. Oh! Okay, Amit says, tell me a joke. Right, I actually do have a joke, Amit. But it's somewhat, well, I'll let you judge for yourself. So 2 nuns are out bicycling, and one nun says to the other, hey, I know a shortcut through to the, wherever nuns live. I guess that's the convent. Is that about right? And so they're bicycling, and then one nun says to the other, oh, I've never come this way. And then the other nun says, must be the couples. Nope, that did not go down very well. Right. Okay. You did say, and I quote here, Amit, tell us a bad joke. I think I delivered on that. Well, I think you guys are outright rude. Amit asked for a bad joke, and I'm giving him a bad joke. What is a good joke? I would have given you one of my better jokes that don't exist. Ladies and gentlemen, all joking aside, can I just thank you for being in my world? I'm grateful for it. It's nice to not trade alone. And I know that this is a one-way street dialogue, and I'm mindful of that. But hey, come and see me in Orlando or in... Actually, I think I should organize an event around Europe. I had such a great time. I visited, the last time I did that, I was in Amsterdam, Prague. By the way, can I just make a public health warning? If you attend an event in Prague, or indeed any event anywhere in Europe, and a gentleman called Andy shows up, public warning, he's extremely friendly, very gregarious, charming, but you will end up at a karaoke bar. And you may not want to end up there, because if you can't sing like I can't, then that's not a good place to be. So, public warning, look out for a gentleman called Karaoke Andy, because he has a tendency to attend these events, and, well, you know, I always keep him at a arm's distance, because, you know, I like him as a guy and as a trader, but not as a singer. So now you've been warned. But anyway, karaoke Andy aside, I had a great time in Bucharest and in Warsaw. I'd really like to want to do one of those events again. It was so much fun to come out and meet you and talk to you and teach you the stuff that perhaps I don't always get an opportunity to teach you behind the scenes. And my friend Richard, he says that Prague has cheap beer, so, you know. Anyway, thank you so much for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night. Stay strong. God bless. Bye-bye.